Hello. Would you please be seated? Thank you. Hello, and welcome to Meet the Candidates for Knoxville High School Board Program. My name is Jace Hudson, and I will be reading you this evening. I'm also the president of the Executive Board for the Student Council. It is my pleasure to bring you this event tonight that will be solely run by Student Council members. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a student-led exercise in civics and public speaking. Being a student exercise, please be respectful of the moderators and team members. Please, those of you on the panel and in the audience, conduct yourselves with dignity and decorum. Our goal is to learn about you as incumbents and candidates, and to learn also more about the democratic process. This event is being recorded for dissemination at a later time. At this time, I'd like to introduce Trenton Kurgan, who will explain the procedures of tonight's events.
Before I get there, I'd like to say good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2023 Knoxville School Board Election Forum. My name is Trenton Kurgan, I am the president of the KHS sophomore class. This forum is, one of these forums has not been held since the Knoxville School Board election in 2015, so it was believed that holding this event would be a great opportunity for the voters to get to know the candidates that they may be voting for. We have incumbent school board members Mr. Chris Stearns, Mrs. Vicki Rose, Mrs. Rebecca McCracken, and members Dr. Suzanne Harshbarger and Mr. Dwayne Ratterman. Also with us tonight are candidates Mr. Troy Flesher and Mr. Justin Johnston. As a student, tonight's program is an example of civic responsibility. That is an important lesson. If it wasn't for elections, especially at the local level, the people who occupy those offices would not have to think about re-election or what was best for the people. Here's how this evening will work. We will first start with introductions from each candidate. We will then start the question and answer portion. All the questions are from the faculty and staff of Knoxville School District. The topics of the questions were sent ahead of time to all the candidates. However, the specific questions have not been seen.
Each candidate will pick a question from the bowl that Brandon will be holding, and the question will be read by me. After the question is read, the candidate will then have 2 minutes to answer the question, which will be timed by Jordan. When 1 minute has passed, Chloe will hold up the yellow card. When the timer reaches 2 minutes, she will hold up the red card indicating that your time is up.
After 3 rounds, each candidate will make their closing statement. If there is a question that was asked of another candidate, and you have your own thoughts on it, please state them at this time. The closing statement will also be limited to 2 minutes. Of course, you do not have to utilize the full 2 minutes throughout the evening. Some questions may not take as long to answer. Before we get started, I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight. And I hope that this is a fun and enjoyable night for everyone, as we will learn more about the candidates and hopefully encourage people to go out and vote to their voting location and vote for the candidate that they'd like to see on the next Knoxville School Board. Let's get started.
We'll now begin with the candidate introductions. Mr. Fletcher?
Okay, thank you. My name is Troy Fleischer. I was born and raised here. I grew up on a farm southeast of town, and that's where I farm today. I'd like to say I never left, but I did spend some time out of state before deciding to raise my family here in my hometown. I graduated from Knoxville in 2003, and then went on to Bradley University to study business, graduated in 2007. I have 2 boys at Maple Woolsey, and they are 2 of my biggest motivators for running. I'm not interested in making any big changes, but I'm not afraid to tackle big issues or projects if necessary. I'm not an academic, but I do consider myself a lifelong learner. I've attended a few board meetings lately and like some of what I hear, but I think I can do better. I love Knoxville, and I would love to see the people and kids here thrive. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight, taking the time to come. My name is Suzanne Harshbarger, and I moved into the district in 2004, shortly after getting married to my husband Kevin, who is a graduate of Knoxville High School. And we currently have 4 kids that attend the district, 1 at the high school and 3 at the junior high. And that is kind of where I got most interested in the board, as my daughter was going through at the elementary level and having some frustrations, I guess, at how things were handled. I am very passionate about education. I attended Purdue University and got my doctorate in veterinary medicine there. And I have a lot invested in the community. I own a business here in town and have given back quite a bit to the organizations and the school over the years. I care a lot about the district, and it's one of those things. Education is important. It's the foundation for everything that these kids do moving forward. And I think we need to look at the learning gap that's started to be created, and it started before COVID, but COVID has continued to show that there's a gap that's really surfacing, and our kids we need to close that so they're more prepared on graduation for whatever they decide to tackle. So, thank you.
Hello, thanks for coming. My name is Justin Johnston. I am a native of Knox County. I grew up in Galesburg, Illinois, graduated in 1999. Went to school at Monmouth College, where I met my wife, and we moved away for a few years, coming back in 2016, building a home here in Knoxville by choice to raise our 4 children. Next year I'll have 1 in each school. I'll have my youngest daughter at Maple Woolsey, my 2 sons at the middle school, and my oldest daughter will be a freshman at the high school next year. So scary times. First semester driver's ed. So I am an entrepreneur by heart. I am a hog farmer. I run a international CNC manufacturing business out of Galesburg. I was in banking for 22 years. I've been coaching youth sports basically my entire life. Baseball, football, sit on the board of the Knoxville Football JFL board. Coached baseball for many years in town. Kids are my #1 priority. Not just my kids, but all the kids. I am the eldest son of a career educator from Galesburg as well. So I have teachers at heart. I am here because I feel like it is my civic duty to stand up for the kids and do what's right by them. I think there's some challenging times ahead for school boards. I have the utmost respect for everybody sitting at this table for standing up and doing what they think is right. And I hope that come the 4th, you guys find find me somebody that's acceptable to look after your children and their education.
Hi, I'm Rebecca McCracken. Sometimes people call me Becky. I grew up in a small farm south of Knoxville. I've lived in the Knoxville School District most of my life, except for when my parents moved to Galesburg. But then shortly after that, George and I got married and moved back into the school district because we knew someday that we wanted our kids to attend here. And they did, Kim and Steven. And we have 3 grandchildren. I retired from the State of Illinois Department of Corrections in July of 12. In the Hill, my job responsibilities was in the business office, and I was responsible for 400 employees. I also serve as the Orange Township Clerk, which gives me insight to budgets and levies, which is also a part of serving on the school board. I was first elected to the board in 2015, and during my tenure, I've been awarded awards from this IASB, which is the Illinois Association of School Boards, those awards include the Distinguished Board Member, which I just received in February of 23, and I've also achieved the level of Master Board Member. These are from the dedication and service I give to the district by attending extra trainings and meetings over and above the minimum requirements. I attend the annual joint conference every year in Chicago. I attend webinars and Zoom meetings and that they make available to all board members. And because of that, I learn, and I love the learning side of it. There were 3 of us last Saturday that attended a multi-regional event in Peoria, where I learned more about equality, equity, racism, Open Meetings Act. There are other webinars that I've attended online, and just a few of those would be collective bargaining, governance, and school finances. I have seen the completion of our beautiful high school, hiring an ag teacher and industrial arts teacher for junior high, and to me that was big. The ag greenhouse is almost done, and it's been a long drawn-out project, and I can't wait to see it completed. There was a group of stakeholders, teachers, staff, and 2 board members, which was Tammy Myers and I, that were on a committee to go over the short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. And there were, I think, maybe 10 groups, and there were probably 5 to a group. And just some of the goals that were brought up in there was the quality of teachers and continue to recruit those type of individuals, quality, and to either update or build a new junior high and elementary school. And those were just a few things, and then the committee stopped due to COVID. A lot happened during COVID. Since our children are grown and no longer live in this area, I do not have any agenda except for all the students in our district, all of our staff, and our stakeholders. I feel I represent a large group of stakeholders in our community, and I want what's best for all of them. I always enjoy giving back to the community, and you've probably seen me at different sporting events and extracurricular activities. I love supporting our students and their activities and fundraisers. And serving on the board for 2 terms, I've learned so much how a district runs and want to always continue to learn. There's always something that everyone can learn. These past 3 years have been rough on everybody because of COVID, and we need to get on from there. Don't look back. We just need to move forward. And just some of the things that I would like to see to continue to monitor the data of the students and how they're doing academically, and to look into the renovations of the junior high in Maple, and retain and recruit good quality teachers and staff. Those are just a few. I'm seeking re-election because I feel that we need a strong voice advocating for our students, staff, and stakeholders. I love this community and want to continue serving the people of this district. Thank you for coming tonight.
Good evening. My name is Dwayne Ratterman. I want to thank the Student Council for giving us this opportunity to let you know who we are. I'm the newest member of the current board. I was appointed to fill a vacancy in November of '21. I grew up in Southern Illinois. Go Cardinals. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Been a resident of Knox County for almost 35 years, and my wife Diane and I, in 2008, decided to move our family to Knoxville. We had 3 kids that graduated from Knoxville High School. Most recent was our daughter Deidre, who graduated in 2018. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from SIU Edwardsville, and I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of Illinois. I currently serve as the county engineer at the Knox County Highway Department. Been in that capacity for almost 24 years. I administer a $10 million budget, which is very similar to the school district, which is about $12 million. I have knowledge of spending public tax dollars, doing that responsibly. I'm familiar with bidding requirements and tax levies that apply to public bodies. I've got experience organizing and conducting public meetings. In the last 10 years, I've been part of executive committees for the National Association of County Engineers, as well as the Illinois Association of County Engineers, serving as president of NACE in 2016 and IACE in 2020. That was an interesting year with COVID as well. My priorities for the school district are, first and foremost, is a quality education for our students. I want to provide support for our administration, teachers, and support staff, school safety and security. I don't know that we can just think that it won't happen here, because it could. We need better control of who has access to our buildings during non-school hours. We need to address the needs of our facilities. The high school is almost 10 years old. The district has done minimal maintenance to the other buildings in that period of time. I want to be a voice for taxpayers that don't have students in school. Over 60% of the taxpayers in a school district do not have students in school. The taxing district where I live, there's 9 taxing bodies. The school district gets 53% of my tax dollars. That's a chunk. And everybody in the audience, that's about what you pay as well. The next highest taxing body is Knox County at 16%. In Knoxville, city of Knoxville, if you live in the city of Knoxville, they get 13%. So you think about the difference between the school district and everybody else. So I want to be a part of the body that manages that money. And thank you everyone for coming.
Now, Dwayne is a lifelong Cardinals fan, but you notice what color he's wearing today, right? Yeah, blue's his favorite color. I make that point every time I see Dwayne. My name is Vicki Rose. I currently serve as the Vice President of the school board, and I was appointed to the board in the spring of 2021 when there was a vacancy. The reason that I threw my hat in the ring, so to speak, to be on the school board is mental health and wellness is my passion. I work at Bridgeway, the Community Mental Health Center in Galesburg. I've worked there for 19 years. I currently serve in the capacity as the Director of Outpatient and Support Services there, so I oversee all of the outpatient mental health and substance use programs. And I know through my experience professionally that social emotional learning for our students is always something that's important, but due to the pandemic, that is becoming more evident that the social emotional needs and mental health needs of our children are changing. And we as a district need to be aware of those and plan for that. And so that was really why I decided to step up and wanted to be a part of the board. Since then, I've learned that school boards have a lot of moving pieces, and I've enjoyed my time really getting to learn what the role of a school board member is, and understanding what that is as part of a group of 7 individuals. Certainly, my expertise with mental health I think is really important, but of course that's not necessarily my role to take that on. But I can provide some guidance to the board in terms of what that area looks like for students and how we can best support them. One of the things that I do as part of my employment is I'm part of the Truancy Review Board for both Knox and Warren counties. So that board identifies, it's ran through the ROE, the Regional Office of Education, and that board identifies and brings in students who are struggling to make it to school, and identifies ways to help support those students and their families in attending school on a regular basis. So that's something that I participate in. And most recently, I have been present in schools, including Knoxville, teaching teen mental health first aid. That we did all of the sophomores here at Knoxville in early January, right after we came back from break. That program is designed to help students identify mental health struggles within their peers and how to connect them to a responsible and trusted adult. The data out there shows that there's a lot of mental health challenges among our students, and so I think that that's a really important piece. In terms of who I am and where I came from, I've lived in Knoxville since around 2004. My husband reminded me he thinks it's 2006, but I said 2004. He's a lifelong Knoxville resident. I have two children, Fiona, who graduated in 2021, and Maddox, who is in 7th grade here. So we've lived here for quite a long time, and I certainly am proud to be part of this community. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Stearns. I currently serve as the president of the Knoxville School Board. I've been a resident of the community here for the last 40-plus years. Moved here when I was in 3rd grade. My father worked for the railroad at the time. I can still tell you that the 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Bates, which is now Mrs. Bowman, was my teacher when I first got here. I attended all 3 schools. Graduated from Knoxville High School in '91. Went on to and graduated from Western Illinois in '95 with studying chemistry and math. I hold the position of Technical Services Manager at National Coatings here in Galesburg. I started my service time, or what I would say service time in the community, in 1999-2000 school year. I started volunteering as a coach for the high school softball team and for junior high football. I did that for 5 years while my wife and I started our family here in town. During that time also, for the last 20-some years, at one time I was president of the Knoxville Letterman's Club, which is an organization that meets on an annual basis at homecoming for any letter winner of Knoxville High School. I've also been a vice president of the Knoxville Youth Athletics at the time. It was baseball, softball, and flag football all combined at the time. Volunteered my time also as a youth league coach while my kids were involved. Then once my kids got into school activities, I volunteered my time at the high school as a football coach now as well. I started that 7-8 years ago. So for the last 23-ish odd years, I volunteer my time here at the school and in the community. Say briefly, we have 4 kids. My 3 oldest girls have already all graduated from high school. My son is a junior here now. So that is part of my commitment to giving back to this community. However, I think over the things that I've done over the last 20-some odd years just shows that I have a great passion for this school, the school district, the things that go on here. And anything I can do to help promote that and keep pushing us forward is what I'm here for. Thank you.
Excellent. Now we'll begin our first round of questions. Good. Our first question. How many district activities have you attended this year, outside of ones your child is involved in?
have to think about that for a minute. Let's see, I think one football game and 5 or 6 board meetings. National Honor Society induction here the other night. I don't keep track, so it takes me a little bit here to think all this. That'd be it.
All right, thank you. Can you talk about your experience in working through conflicts? How were you able to collaborate, compromise, and work to see others' point of view?
Actually, with what I do, owning a business and having staff members, I feel like I deal with this on a regular basis, probably a daily basis. And I have learned over the years to be very patient and tolerant and try to constantly see other people's point of view. Because there are times that when you take a step back and listen, it's easy to see that you're not always the one with all the information. So it's, I deal with a lot of tough people every day, people that are entitled, demanding, rude. You don't usually hear the good from people, you only hear the complaints. So I will say I get pretty used to dealing with that. Even from my kids, when you have 4 kids that are all 4.5 years apart, we constantly hear the bickering. So it's, you just kind of have to listen. But what was the other? Compromise, collaborate. But I will say being a board member too, for the last, I don't know, almost 2 years, is you're an individual in a group of 7, and it's not your view that always shines through, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be anything, a personal agenda. It's working together as a group to make the board stronger, the district stronger, and a lot of times it's about give and take, and it's for me, it's not real hard to do, yes.
Do you feel athletics is more important than academics? Please explain why student athletes are not able to miss a practice for academic or extracurricular reasons. And why are coaches allowed to swear incessantly at our students when we expect the students to be respectful to our teaching staff?
That's a great question. Actually, I feel like the first part of this is explained by the word student athlete. You're always a student first. Extracurricular activities are just that. They are a privilege for students who meet the goals and the classroom agendas that are placed in front of them. That is, as a student athlete myself all the way through college, that's the first thing that gets pounded into your head by almost all coaches, is that you are a student first, and you'll always be a student first. Let's see. This is a first for me. Why they're not able to miss practice for academic or extracurricular reasons. I can't say that I've ever heard that one before. Usually it's the opposite. You're expected to be in class before the extracurricular comes into play. So I can't explain why any coach would prefer that. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me personally. And no coach should ever be allowed to swear incessantly at any student or child under the premise of school sports, teaching, or otherwise. That is a violation of what they're there to do. So I there are specific examples of that, I would think everyone at this table would be very interested to hear those examples. That is exactly why we're all here, is to protect the students and everything that goes with that, including extracurriculars.
Excellent. Next question? How do you plan to be involved in our district beyond being elected to the board?
How do I plan to be involved in our district beyond being elected to the board? I've already done that, and I've been doing it since I've been on the board. I go to, you might have seen me at extracurricular activities and ball games. I've already been doing this. I go to ball games and go to events and I'm involved with fundraisers. So I'm already involved in our district beyond being elected to the board. And I have for a long time.
What experience do you have that makes you a qualified candidate for school board?
Well, as I mentioned in my introduction, my career path has really, I think, given me a lot of experience in participating in the board. When I applied for the vacancy back in November, actually I applied in June of 21 and they picked Vicki instead of me, but yeah. I understand budgets. I mentioned earlier the highway department has a $10 million budget similar to the district's. I understand property tax. I understand levies. I manage people. Now, boards do not manage people, but you have to understand how people are managed and the effective ways of managing people. I compare my position as a county engineer to the superintendent's position. I have a county board that I answer to, and the superintendent answers to the school board. So serving on the school board gives me a chance to see the other side of it, and I think it's made me a better person, a more effective county engineer in how I present things to the county board and enable them to make better decisions. As an elected official, it's tough to make decisions when you don't know a lot about what you're deciding. So I try to give the county board members a lot of information. Sometimes maybe it's too much, but I think as an elected official, you want to make the best decision you can, but the only information you have is what you're given by the superintendent. So, thank you.
In your opinion, what is one of the biggest issues that the Knoxville School District currently faces, and how do you plan to solve it?
So one of the things that I learned when I became a board member is that the school board's first job and your most important job is to hire a superintendent. And in my time on the board, that is one of the things that our district has struggled with is leadership. And so over this past year, this current board has spent the time to recruit and hire a superintendent for our district for next year. Leadership in the district has been a concern over the past 2 years. I feel like, and I think my other board members would agree with me that Dr. Guerrero, who will be coming on as our new school board, our new superintendent next year, was the best candidate for the job. And so as a board member, our role is to hire a superintendent, first and foremost, to lead the district. So up until this point, I feel like that's been one of our largest issues. I think moving forward into next year, some of the things that our district needs to be looking at are our financial situation. We're not in as great a standing now as we were 5 years ago. When we reviewed recently the audit, that became apparent. So I think as a district, one of the things that Dr. Guerrero's role will be is how we look at our district financially in the future. Are there other ways that we can fund what our district needs outside of our traditional ways, including writing grants, and she has a very strong background in that. I think we also will need to be looking at learning loss. I know Suzanne mentioned that earlier. The pandemic did have an impact on our students' learning. If you look at the data that has come out on the Illinois School Report Card, our students are not performing as well in English and math as other districts around the area. And we need to look at curriculum and how that impacts our students, as well as our social emotional needs of our students.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next question.
I know, I saw it.
What do you see as the major issue or issues facing your school district?
Major issues facing our district right now, financing is one. That's a big one every year. Mainly because, as Mr. Grimm informed us the other night, the state legislature continues to pass unfunded mandates. They are coming through hot and heavy through the legislature this spring. So that is something that we need to keep an eye on. We need to prepare the best that we can to implement, to be ready to implement those in a cost-effective manner. Beyond that, much like Mrs. Rose and Dr. Harshberger had said, tackling the learning loss from the last couple of years. We've got some processes in place now that are starting to grow and bring our young people back up, but that not necessarily getting back up where we're at is where we want to go. We want to drive that forward. We want to implement, the advantage. We want to implement new curriculum to help keep moving our students forward. Thank you.
Excellent. That wraps up the first round. Now we'll begin the second round of questioning. Where does your importance lie with teacher welfare, and what type of changes would you seek to make regarding teacher welfare?
I don't personally know a lot of teachers in the district. I don't have a close relationship to too many. I've always said that students come first, but teachers are going to come second, because if we have happy teachers, then we're going to have happy students. So that's my priority, and below that is going to come the rest of the community, the stakeholders, taxpayers. So priority-wise, teachers are very close, right below the student. And changes, I don't necessarily have any personal experience with changes that are specifically needed, but anytime that I am approached or confronted, I would be not afraid to approach the rest of the board and resolve any issues necessary.
What is your biggest motivation for wanting to serve on the school board?
My biggest motivation for serving on the school board would definitely be education and educational reform where needed. Like I said, kind of in the introduction when I mentioned, I didn't grow up in this area. I did grow up in Pennsylvania in a much bigger high school. And the more kids, the more opportunities there are. And I think that greatly influenced my ability to go on and do what I'm doing today. But I also know that to get where you're going, you need to work hard and you need to put in extra time sometimes. So when I look at being on the board, and not necessarily just from being on the board, but when you see the Illinois report card and you see some of the scores, to me it's a little frustrating. I just know how important education is, and it's, how much time do we get?
2 minutes.
And I'm already getting the other part. Is that a minute? You said?
That's a minute.
Okay. So I think as a district, I think we can do better to push kids, and especially the kids that have a desire to do better. Give them more opportunity, especially at the younger levels. I feel like at the lower levels, everything's set to average. And if you're above average, there's not a lot of opportunities for those kids. So I think that's important. But I think we can do better as a district when it comes to that. And there's also seems to be a big disparity between where boys are scoring and where girls are scoring on the tests. And that to me is a little concerning too. Why are our boys falling off? I have 3 of them, and they don't really care for school, and why is that? I think we could do a better job to involve them and get more hands-on and get them participating in class to really be able to drive the message home and make them do just as well.
All right, your time is up. Next question. Will you be able to make a decision based on facts and the well-being of the children, or only your personal opinions? Can you give an example of a time when you put your personal opinion aside and did this?
So I think that's the epitome of a school board. It's not just one person's opinion, it's all 7. Everybody's got their own personal thoughts on things, but they work together to find the best remedy to whatever solution is in front of them and make the decision based upon the facts that are there. I know some of the people sitting at this table had to make some very tough decisions during their terms on the board. I was present at quite a few of those meetings and applaud them for standing up and making those decisions. I know they were not easy. Give an example of a time when you put your personal opinion aside. I sit on a lot of community boards, corporate boards. This is something that is done on a daily basis. As the director of finance for an international machine company, I put my personal opinions based on physical conservatism aside 99 to 100 times a day. There's always something that needs to be done or paid for. There's always some dire need that needs to be addressed. Personal opinions aside, I think is what the school board is all about. That's why there's 7 votes. You get 7 different angles to look at the problem and to come up with the best solution for everybody in the room.
How will the candidates focus on our higher learning students? Will we have weighted grades? Will we have more dual credit and AP classes? Schools all around us are graduating seniors with so many college credits and are getting their associate's degree along with their high school diploma. Knoxville is severely deficient in this area. What is your opinion about including more core classes in science, English, and math? For example, we don't even have trigonometry offered in our district. Our students going to college are short of higher learning STEM classes.
This is a long one. Let's focus on I know at one time the weighted grades had been brought up, and what the board did at that time, Mr. Wilder brought it to us, and what the board did at that time was change what the point system was. Instead of having 93 in A, they made 90 in A, 80 a B, 70 was a C, and so on. I would like to see more dual credits in AP classes, because there are schools around us that, I know of some schools, or some students that have graduated high school with an associate's degree. And so I would like to see that happen, and we are deficient in that area. What is your opinion? If we need those things and we can find the teachers to be able to fill those positions, then I feel that we need to fill those. So for example, we don't even have a tree. And that's not good because, you know, I know that when my kids were in school, trig was offered. And I have an engineer. And so I know that they had that. And so it saddens me that has been stopped. Our students are going to college, are short of hard learning in STEM classes. And that's because of the lack of science, technology, engineering, and math. So hopefully these things will, I appreciate them being brought to our attention, and hopefully we'll be able to deal with these things later on, you know, down the road. I appreciate you guys bringing this forward to us. Thank you.
What is your vision for education in this community?
My vision, I guess, kind of goes back to the previous question that Mrs. McCracken had to answer. You know, I think we need to offer more AP dual credit classes for our students. You know, it'd be awesome if, you know, we had a number of students that would graduate with a, you know, an associate's degree. You know, do we need to talk to Carl Sandburg College? You know, if you go to Galesburg School District, or I believe even United, they get to go to Carl Sandburg tuition free, I believe. I don't know a lot of details about that, but why don't we get that as well? You know, hopefully we can work with Dr. Guerrero and she can make these things happen. She seems like she's got a lot of energy, and I think she's gonna do a lot of great things for us. So yeah, I think the vision is that we just need to make things better by offering more science and technology classes and, you know, math. I'm an engineer, so I'm kind of a math nerd. I love trig. And it is sad. I think we need, teacher recruitment is an issue that, you know, is nationwide is a problem. That, you know, kind of goes to teacher welfare. You know, what can we do to make the teachers want to come to Knoxville? You know, is it more money? Is it classroom security? Is it child behavior? You know, we need to figure those things out, and I think Dr. Guerrero will be a great superintendent to lead us down that path. Thank you.
How much will you look for and consider input from all stakeholders, educators, administrators, students, and parents before making decisions for our district?
So one of the things that I learned very quickly when I became a board member was what my role as a board member is, and that is governance. And what's involved in governance is that we hire superintendent and administrators to run the district. And our role as board members is to receive recommendations from them in terms of policy, how policies are being enforced, or if policies need to be revised. And part of that also includes stakeholder input. So one of the examples that I can give is in the hiring of Dr. Guerrero. One of the things that as a board we felt was really important was to involve community, teacher, student, and board input into what the community of Knoxville was looking for in leadership for their district. We took that opportunity, and I thank Mr. Graham and Mr. Payne, who provided those sessions for all of those different stakeholders, and then they were able to compile the ideal candidate for what Knoxville looked like for leadership within our district. And we as a board then were able to develop a profile based upon all of those items of what the best candidate for Knoxville looked like. And so as we conducted interviews for our superintendent, we were able to match those against what the community wanted, what our teachers wanted, what our students wanted. And I felt like that was a really great example of how stakeholder input can be valuable in what we do. As a board member, I should value stakeholder input. That is part of my job as a board member. Thank you.
What are your goals for our district in 1 year, 5 years, or even 10 years?
Well, personally, as a board member, my goals only become a voice of one, become a voice of one. One of the things that through the interview process, when we were interviewing superintendents, this is a topic that came up multiple times. Developing a strategic plan. We had a strategic plan that was put together years ago. It's time for a new one. So one of the things that Dr. Guerrero is going to be tasked with when she comes on, and probably starting as soon as July or August, is she will be meeting with and putting together stakeholder groups of community members, of staff, of students, and going through and asking these questions of what each group wants our district to look like. What do we want our students to look like when they graduate? Do we need to do facility improvements? How do we want things to look as a community for our students, for our young people as they graduate? How ready do we want them for college? Do we need to improve our offerings for those non-college students and for those to be ready to go into the workforce right after graduation? So, we'll look forward for that information to come in from you, and we will put together a plan based on the input after that.
Thank you. That concludes round 2. We will now begin with round 3. Why are you running for the Knoxville District 202 Board of Education? If elected, what will be your priorities?
My primary motivator is my children. They are young, they're attending Mabel Woolsey currently, so I would like to see them succeed just as I would like to see all the other kids in the district succeed. So I feel if I put my energy into what's good for them, that will equate to what's good for all the other children in the district. As I said when I first started, I'm not here to make any big changes. I am interested in improvement. And I think if you spend time looking around, asking questions, listening to all the stakeholders, then you will find issues that can be improved. I also said earlier that my priorities are the children, number one, teachers, number two, and then I would put administration, community, and taxpayer third to that. No deal?
What types of training, continuing education do you plan to continue in order to be up to date and in adherence to current school board procedural practices?
There was a significant amount of training that was involved when I joined the board, and we were required to complete that, which is a good thing because it was taught about all the basics, the ins and outs of what you need to do to be an effective board member. Since then, most of it that I have done and kept up with has been online. We get emails, several emails weekly with updates from the state and opportunities to attend class online through that. And even with all the different mandates that are, I guess not yet mandates, but the different bills they're trying to pass through the House and the Senate in Illinois, and which ones have passed the House and are moving on. And just keeping up with that is a lot at times. But it's a good way to be informed, and it's in being online, you're getting the most up-to-date, recent information that's coming through, and it's an easy way to do it as well. There are other opportunities. They do have state and regional meetings as well. I have not attended those at this point. I have done everything online.
Will teacher input play a vital role in your decision-making when serving on the Knoxville School Board?
Absolutely. Our teachers are our frontline personnel. They're the ones dealing with the kids every day. I think their input is highly valued in any decision that's made at the school board level. That is an area that I think teachers are underfunded, they're underpaid. We're losing a number of teachers every year and struggling to get them back into the community. I think that's a number one priority, to keep our teachers in the district, keep them happy, get them the tools that they need to effectively do their jobs, and stand by them when they make tough decisions. They're superheroes in my book. So absolutely, I think teachers are number one priority in any decision making that any school board decision is made upon.
What do you believe should be the priority of the school board that will contribute the most to the success of our school district overall?
be honest with you. I feel that one of our major priorities as a board, and you could ask any school board this, is to be able to listen to reason. I mean, as far as why each individual board member has the opinion that they have, instead of just shutting it down completely. And because that's called unity, and we gotta have unity on the board. And if we have unity on the board, then our school districts, in my opinion, will be very successful. It's called get involved.
Okay, next question. What is a school board member's role and responsibility? How does that role differ from the role of the superintendent or the administration?
School board members' role is to, I think, in my mind, think big picture, think long-term. Chris mentioned the strategic plan. We set the vision for the district. The superintendent, the administration, they all carry out the tasks that are described in the strategic plan. Governance, we set goals and direction, and we establish policy. Management is the work of the administration, not the board. We do not deal with day-to-day concerns, issues. Those things are vetted through the administrators, through the superintendent. If they are a big enough issue, then the superintendent will bring them to us, and we make an educated decision on what needs to be done at that time. Is policy being followed? Is it a good policy? Do we need to change the policy? So yeah, I think as a board member, it's about the big picture. Thank you.
What do you see as the primary work of the Board of Education?
Well, I might sound like a broken record at this point, but first and foremost, the board's work is to hire a superintendent and provide leadership for the district. Second to that, our role as board members is to provide governance for the district. I'm going to echo what Dwayne said in terms of not being in the day-to-day work of the school district. We hire a superintendent and administrators to do that on a daily basis, whereas we really are focused more on board policy, if policies need to be revised, or the enforcement of those policies, and what the long-term goals of the district are.
That leads us to our final question. As a prospective school board member, how do you plan on supporting our teachers through the RTI model, and what CBAs do you think could be beneficial in helping to best serve as intervention tools in order to help our students?
As a board member, have to work through the superintendent to set goals for those sort of interventions. We would hear the data feedback from Mrs. Myers, who's our current RTI coordinator, and then we would work with the superintendent, who would then work down through the administration to provide leadership and the resources necessary on the board side of it. Our role would then to be to see where we can find the finances to pay for those and to approve programs that the administration and the superintendent deem necessary for that.
Right. That concludes that concludes round 3. And now we'll move on to our concluding statements for each of our candidates, starting from right to left.
Well, thanks for coming, everyone, and I'm going to end on possibly a hot button. I don't know if this is political or not, but we're going to go for it. I have some basketball photos from November of 2021. This is Indiana, and we have Iowa. This is all high school, obviously, and we have Kentucky and Missouri, and I didn't cherry pick any of these, I just went online to the respective news websites. We have Arkansas and Wisconsin, and then we have Illinois. And you may notice that our kids are wearing masks during this strenuous physical activity. And here's a student section with masks below the chin for some reason. 3 months prior to this, we had a board meeting with 100 community members telling the board to end the masking like other states had done. But with the threat of funding removal, some of these board members voted to continue covering our kids' faces. They may have felt they had no choice, but there's always a choice. We even have someone running again that suggests there should have not even been a vote that day because it was a state mandate. The court ultimately decided our kids didn't belong in masks, but imagine if our board would have made that decision instead. Our state now provides us with a large amount of resources to do this job, but I intend to not just be a facilitator, but a decision maker. We've heard a lot about the learning loss, and I believe that this policy was a major contributor. Thank you.
Thank you again to everybody for coming tonight. This district has a bright future, and working together and incorporating everybody's ideas and thoughts and bringing the stakeholders into it and the teachers into it. Even on a student level, what do the students think, how do they feel, and incorporating everybody together and working together, there's a lot that can be accomplished. I'm excited about the superintendent that we have coming. She's got a lot of great ideas, and I ditto the comment about she seems to have a lot of energy moving forward. The 2 interims that we've had have been absolutely fantastic. I feel like they brought in the leadership in the last year that we have so desperately needed and have gotten a significant amount of everything that we've been working towards back on track. So she hopefully will be able to step in and take off running, which is what our district needs. We don't have the time. We don't have years to get things back on the road. That's some people's education. So anything that we can do to speed up the process and get more opportunities in the classroom to help these kids succeed and be financially responsible and attend to teachers' needs and desires and deal with the staff shortages. So it takes the workload off of everybody else. All of that can come together. We will have great success with this district. Thank you.
Well,
thank you again for coming. I look forward to being a part of the board because I believe in being a part of the solution and leading by example. The kids represent our future, and I believe preparing them for the future is the most important part. Some of the things that have been brought up with STEM and college credits, advanced courses, and vocal programs. Those are kind of some of my hot topic issues. I want to see all kids prepared for their future, whether they're going into the military, the workforce, or college prep. I think that is something that we can push forward in this district and be leaders in our area doing so. With the chance from you guys, I'd also like to bring a little bit more transparency to the school board. I'd like to initiate small groups and get some student input, teacher input, administrator input going on these bigger decisions like they did with the superintendent. I think that was well received, and I think everybody came up with the same conclusion at a age group. I don't know what the numbers tallied to exactly, but I think everyone made the right choice on that. So I look forward to hopefully being a part of the board in the future. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight also. I do want to be reelected for a third term. There are things that I'd like to see completed that need to be done, and that the kids are our future, and I recognize that. Not to say that everybody else isn't important, because they are, but I know during the pandemic, our kids lost a lot, and the RTI number, the data from the RTI shows that. So what I would like to see is that those numbers be brought back up, and I appreciate you coming. Thank you.
I would like to thank Mr. Hudson for being the moderator. I'm sure you were probably a little more nervous than we are. Mr. Kurgan as well for helping him, and I'm sorry, the young lady that did all the walking. Thank you as well. Student council members that helped out, I want to thank them. And Ms. Dillon for being the one that really did a lot of the legwork to put this together. I want to thank everyone in attendance tonight for trying to be educated on what really is an important decision for our community. If I'm elected, I'm looking forward to working with our new school superintendent, Dr. Andrea Guerrero. As mentioned earlier, one of the priorities of the current board, as well as Dr. Guerrero, you have to get used to saying that, is to develop a strategic plan for the district. That is our roadmap, and we need a roadmap. The strategic plan is objective and impersonal. It's one that community members, staff members, teachers, administrators, and the board will develop and embrace. That plan will be the key to continued progress and student achievement, which truly is the main reason any prospective or current board member should want to serve. No board member candidate can promise anything tonight or any other time. Everything has to be approved by the 7-member board. Although there are best practices, there is no one way to govern a school district. Whether it is stated or intuitive, the work of a school board member, no matter the topic, is to take best practices, understand the laws that apply, maintain purpose, and make the best decisions for the community. The school board is not the place for political agendas. The short time I've been on the board, every time you're on a board, there's a learning curve. The board members need, we have to learn how other people think and, cooperation. I think we currently have a board that, I think we all understand our role, and, I think we did a great job of bringing Mrs. Guerrero to the district. She's going to be a superstar for us, and, I would like to see all the incumbents elected or re-elected. I think that we can hit the ground running with Dr. Guerrero with that being the case. If you haven't voted yet, please do so next Tuesday, because that's really the most important part. Thank you.
Well, just to echo other sentiments, I really appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight. I obviously thank the student council. I think this is an amazing event that you put on, so thank you very much, and Ms. Dillon, of course, and of course the community. I'm going to close with exactly what I told the board that appointed me. When I was interviewed for the vacancy, one of the things that I did before I decided to run for school board, or to be interviewed for the vacancy, was to research what makes a good board member. Because I think it's really important to know that if you're going to attempt to step into a role, that matches who you are. And some of the things that I learned, so I did a lot of research. I connected with the Illinois Association for School Boards, and really researched what is an effective board member, what characteristics are really important for that role. And some of the things that I learned are to be a good teammate and really value teamwork. So I checked that box. I was like, okay, I can do this, right? I've worked as part of a team throughout my professional career, and felt like that was something that was a strength for me. One of the other things that was mentioned was being able to navigate challenges. As a professional counselor and working with people who have mental health or substance use challenges, everything's a challenge at times throughout the course of the day. So I felt like I could do that effectively. Listen to other people and be willing to have open, honest conversations in a respectful way. And I felt like I could do that as well. So that's why I decided to be interviewed for that. I did the same thing before I decided to sign up for the election, was go back, review what those characteristics are. Is this still me? Am I a good fit for this? And I felt like that was really important to do. Because being a school board member isn't about my thoughts or what I want. It's about the good of the district. You know, Knoxville's motto is to educate all students to be productive members of our society. And all of us on the school board also have to believe in that mission. And in order to be effective, we have to live by that. And so that's why I choose to run, because I feel like I'm a good fit based on what makes an effective school board member. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming tonight. Thank you Ms. Dillon and the student council for allowing us this opportunity to get up here, answer some questions, and give an opportunity for everyone to learn a little bit about us. There's a lot of work still to be done. The last 4 years has been challenging for our district. We have lost a lot. We've struggled with leadership at the top and on its way down through, but we believe now we have a superintendent that's going to, with the help of the interns, superintendents and their experiences this last year, help getting us back on the right path, going through the interview process for a new superintendent, and involving the stakeholders in that process again, and believing that we have hired the correct candidate based on the profile that was put together, based on community input. We believe that we're turning the corner, and that we're starting to go in the right direction. But we need everybody's help to do that. But I think we'll get there. Thank you.
Excellent. Please give the candidates a round of applause for questions.
Okay, so to just keep this short and sweet, so thank you candidates for giving your input on any questions that our community may have had. Please remember that Election Day is this coming Tuesday, April 4th. That's about it. Thank you for coming out, ladies and gentlemen. Please drive safe home. Thank you.